What's the most refreshing act of I don't give a F that you've ever witnessed? In high school, a friend of mine got piss-loaded drunk. I mean, it's a miracle he didn't end up in the hospital. And he didn't have a drive home from the party, so what does he do? He calls the police and says, yeah, there's some drunk fucker walking up 3rd Street yelling, and what does he do then? Walks up 3rd Street till they pick him up and drive him to his mother's house. Was on a ferry one day, standing next to a guy on the ledge. Guy was texting, dropped his iPhone into the sea. He just looked over for a second and pulled out some gum from his pocket and chewed on it and continued looking at the islands passing by. I looked at him once and he just shrugged briefly. One day at my old job, my old boss called everybody together because the upper management decided to cut some people out. This old lady overheard it from the bathroom, and then she zoomed out of there, grabbed her stuff and left before she could get properly fired. She then called the HR to tell them she was getting her paid vacation that was on hold, and hung up the phone before the HR could respond. And she turned off all possible contacts, like cell phone and emails. Then she took 30 days of paid vacation plus 4 days of paid sick leave plus 29 days of absence. In my country, the law says you can be absent for 29 straight days without being fired for just cause. When she came back, she was properly fired without just cause and got all benefits like unemployed insurance, etc. TLDR, old lady took a 30-day vacation, 4 sick leave and 29 days of absence before she could get properly fired. At a high school party where everyone was drinking underage and there was around 90 people, I'll never forget watching the cops pull into the driveway and seeing every single person take off sprinting into the cornfields, rural area with a mile of corn 500 feet from the house, and with everyone sprinting away from the cops, one guy sat in a lawn chair and continued to drink his beer while everyone else was running around. I was watching it from the bed of my truck hiding. I was driving behind a person wearing a hat driving their convertible with the top down on a nice summer day. For some reason they leaned their head out the car and their hat flew right off in the wind. Without missing a beat they reach over to their passenger seat and put another hat on their head. Kept driving like nothing happened. Which job is a lot less fun than most people expect? Video game tester. You aren't spending your time playing completed fully realized games. You are playing the same level of a game over and over, seeing if there are bugs. Acting. All the ones we see on TV and movies are the 0.0001% of incredibly lucky and talented people who manage to thrive in a hostile and overcrowded industry. And even when you are working, the actual job itself is 99% sitting on apple crate in hot makeup waiting for some grips to move a lighting fixture. Then you say 3 lines over and over again for an hour, and then you rap. Baker. Coming into work at 3 to 4 a.m. so you can have a 6 baked goods is miserable. TV, film production. I think most people dream of being the actor, the director, the people making the creative decisions, or the big shot producer calling the shots, but most of the people working in TV and film production are part of a machine, the grind, working in a system, trying to climb up to wherever they want to be. Many don't get to actualize their creative vision. Also, the industry can be project-based, job security concerns, and location-limited, NY, LA, maybe other cities. Pay can be low starting out too, though it can be good if you work way up. But I did enjoy the type of people that work these jobs, a little more fun than the business folk I work with now. Edit. Just want to note I have a lot of respect for the TV, film industry. I would go back to it, but I would be careful about what the job and career path was. Oh my gosh, Build-A-Bear. Weirdest and most frustrating thing. Granted, I didn't make it a super long time in the job and seeing kids so happy is great. But they are really strict and the bad times get pretty bad. What is the best thing to say to someone to subtly mess with their head? What would you change about yourself, apart from the obvious? Whenever my boss Dave walks by I always slide, yeah but don't let Dave catch you doing that, into the conversation. When my dad played tennis in high school, he would ask his competitors right before a match, do you breathe in or out when you serve? Not spoken but written. When someone parks and take up 2 or 4 parking spots, I always leave them a little note that says something along the lines of, hey, sorry about your truck. I drive a smaller car and thought I could park in beside you but didn't quite make it. My buddy says you should be able to buff the scratches out with wax from AutoZone and that the damage is less than $100, so there is no reason for me to leave my information. Good luck. I have done this a few times and sit back to watch as some guy comes out, reads the note on his windshield, and spends 20 minutes walking around his truck or car trying to figure out where the scratch is. Start off any conversation with, another late night, makes any person think they look haggard. Nice to see you again, to someone you just met for the first time. That's certainly an interesting way to do it. Redditors, what started off as a small lie but then snowballed into, this is my life now? My freshman year of college I was walking around campus when a very friendly looking girl waved at me. I'm awkward, so of course I waved back. The next week, the same thing. This began the weirdest saga of my life. For the next 2 years, we greeted each other as old friends every time we came across the other. She knew my name, somehow. I never could figure hers out and it was way too late to ask. I just pretended I knew who she was and why she knew me. Finally, I joined the honors program and entered my classes for my thesis. Who should be in this class but mystery girl? I was horrified. I wouldn't be able to pass it off anymore. First day of class, we are all sitting there chatting and she greets me by name, again. I had finally learned her name from attendance, thank God. Someone asks, finally, oh, so do you two know each other? Where'd you meet? Silence. I stare at her. She stares at me. Finally she breaks down wailing. I don't know. Okay, we've just been waving at each other for 2 years and it was too late to ask. She's standing in my wedding next spring as one of my bridesmaids and very best friends. Edit. I'm a chick. She's not 100% sure how she learned my name. Hi Ty, love you dude. Told a small lie to a girl I was texting that I love running. Dunno how it sold because I was fat. Started running the second after I sent that. 5 years later I went from 298 to 180. Not bad. Somebody thought I was Jewish and I didn't want to correct them because I hate confrontation. So now everyone in the school thinks I am Jewish and my homeroom got me a Passover card signed by everyone. My brain told me it was time to stop but I didn't want to ruin the thought of the gesture. My mother was a super control freak, so one of the ways I would avoid home was after school extracurriculars. I got the date wrong on a math team meeting, so I lied to my mom about it while actually attending the debate team intro meeting. I probably didn't need to lie, but it was always safer to not disrupt her precious schedule. Eventually, debate became a regular activity for me to avoid home. In 3 years, I was a state semifinalist and in college, I coached the high school national champions and turned that into a free ride for a master's degree. What really scary horror story really happened in your life or to the people you know? Used to hang out in a field near some forests when I was younger. One time it was about midnight, one of my friends had recently had some love triangle type trouble and the other guy involved wanted to fight him quite bad. Somehow he found out where my friend liked to hang out and rounded up about 10 of his friends to come find him and I'm guessing beat the shit out of him. I unfortunately happened to be there too. We saw about 4 cars park up on the road near the field and about 10 guys get out. I'm guessing they saw one of our phone lights because next thing we know they shine what I can only describe as an industrial flashlight towards us. We just hear, he's right fucking there. So we ran into the forest, at 12 at night in the pitch black. It started to pour with rain. For an hour we hid in bushes and crept around the forest avoiding them as light from their torches shone through the trees. At times they'd walk right past us but not able to see us because we were face down in the bushes and mud. Lol. I was the victim of a manhunt and it was terrifying. Got home at about 2 a.m. soaking and covered in mud. They never caught us though. All over a love triangle I wasn't bloody involved in. Scariest thing that ever happened to me. Many years ago, pre-cell phone, a friend of mine got a call from the police. Lock your doors, hide, we're on our way over. Her angry ex had hired someone to break into her house, make it look like a burglary gone bad, and kill her. Through a bizarre coincidence with equally bizarre timing, someone arrested for another unrelated drug charge offered a bigger fish if they let him walk. The bigger fish was that his buddy had been hired to kill her. By the time they validated the story and identified the people, they were able to determine that the hired killer was likely already on the way to her house. In the few minutes between the phone call and the police arriving, he had started breaking into the house. A long sequence of perfectly timed unlikely events was the only thing that stood between her and certain death. My grandpa told me a story about how some strange woman in disheveled clothing knocked on his door in the middle of the night speaking a strange language while he was staying in some hotel in Taiwan. From what I remember he told me it was as if she was floating.